This is Brindlewood Bay Part 1. Let's kick off by having all of us introduce ourselves. When I call on you, please say your name, your pronouns, and anything else you would like for viewers of the video to know about you. I will start, though, and say that my name is Jason. I use he, him. They is also fine. I am the creator of Brindlewood Bay, and I'm very, very excited to run it for this group of folks who I have played with in different configurations, but never all together. So I think that'll be really fun. Let's go over to Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I use he, him pronouns. I am an actor, and as of like a few months ago, now a podcaster and game designer. I co-host the Dark and Threshold podcast with Jason here, and I also write mysteries for the Between Public Access, and have a game called Moonlight Vale coming out. Also, I have a streaming channel, Critical Failsafe, where Wes and I have done a game of the Between before. And I've run Brindlewood Bay, but I've never played in a full campaign of it, so I'm very excited.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda. My pronouns are she, her. I do statistics and data analysis by day, and then I also play games by day because I like to get a good night's sleep. You can find some things that I have written online at itch.io under I Am a T-Rex, or if you support the Gauntlet, which you should, you can find my Brindlewood Bay Mystery Murder Most Foul. It's actually really fun to play, and if you love puns, it's chock full of them.
It might make an appearance. We'll see. It may
Ooh.
happen. Yeah, possibly. Wes.
Hi, my name is Wes Franks. My pronouns are he, they. I am a queer, non-binary, former Twitch streamer. Now I'm just a full-time producer, TTRPG designer, writer, that kind of thing, catch-all. And I'm very excited to be here and play some Brindlewood Bay.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And finally, Chaotic.
I'm Chaotic. I'm on the internet, and I'm just known for running a lot of Card from Brindlewood games, mostly the Between. I've ran Brindlewood Bay several times as one-shots at conventions for my friends. I've played Brindlewood Bay as part of a one-shot that never got finished, and that's all I've played before, so it's going to be very exciting to actually play more than one session.
And pronouns?
Oh, he, they.
Fabulous. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to kick off with just introducing the game. And for folks who are watching this video, if you are new to Brindlewood Bay, there is a whole session 1 procedure in the back of the book. So even if you kind of don't know how to get started, well, it's going to show you how to get started. You just go through here, follow every step, and you'll be good to go. We've done a fair amount of this already beforehand, so I'll be skipping some of the steps and go straight to CATS. CATS is an acronym that stands for Concept, Aim, Tone, and Subject Matter. The purpose of CATS is to establish some basic expectations for what this game is about and what we're going to be doing during this first session. So the concept of Brindlewood Bay, it is a role-playing game about a group of elderly women, members of the local Murder Mavens Mystery Book Club, who frequently find themselves investigating and solving actual murder mysteries in their community. They become increasingly aware that there are supernatural forces that connect the cases they are working on, and in particular, a cult dedicated to the dark, monstrous aspect of the goddess Persephone will come to vex them. The game is directly inspired by the television show Murder, She Wrote, but also takes inspiration from the cosmic horror genre, mystery books, cozy crime dramas, and American TV shows from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And also, because we're using the alternate Maven moves, mystery literature quite a lot as well. The aim of the characters in the story is to keep their community safe by investigating the murders taking place there. Our aim as players is to learn more about these characters, as well as to paint a vivid picture of the town of Brindlewood Bay, a responsibility that we all share in different ways. The aims for today's session are to introduce our characters, learn the basics of how the game works by playing it, and then have a debrief at the end. The tone of this game bounces between the cozy and the creepy. Most of the time it will be fairly lighthearted, but occasionally it will get very dark and menacing. Some kitschy, campy humor is very much in keeping with some of the game's inspirations, but above all, your characters should take everything they do very seriously, even if we're having a bit of a laugh about it from time to time. Subject matter, murder of all varieties. Threats to animals and children, ritual magic, human sacrifice, and other dark subject matter come up in this game from time to time. We'll talk safety tools in a bit, but in the interest of setting some expectations right now, you should know that while the game is generally lighthearted, some intense subject matter can come up. Speaking of safety tools, no game is more important than the people who are playing it. We're going to aim to tell the best story we can, but we're going to do it in a way that respects everyone's boundaries of safety and consent. We'll be using 3 safety tools today: the open door policy, the X card, and roaming lines and veils. The open door policy is very simple. You can leave for any reason. You don't have to explain yourself. Just let us know you have to go. The X card is, in the context of this video call, is a little different than it would normally be, but basically, it's here in case something in the game makes you feel uncomfortable in an unfun way. You just type in X card in the chat or just say it out loud, and I will pause play and figure out what we have to change in order to for everybody to be satisfied. I might ask what is being X carded, but I will never ask why. And then we're going to do roaming lines and veils. This is a slight variation on lines and veils. Lines and veils, normally, the way it works is lines are things that we are not going to have in the game at all. Veils are things that we're okay with being in the game, but we prefer not to role play them. I lately really favor roaming lines and veils, especially when I have a pretty good sense of the tolerances of the people I'm playing with. And so the way we'll handle it is if we just anticipate some kind of subject matter coming up that we don't want to do, we'll line it right then or veil it right then. My roaming begins right away, and I'm going to say that we're not going to have sexual violence in the game. That's going to be a line. And so, but otherwise, we'll do roaming lines and veils. You are all free to put any notes you wish in the safety tab if you want to kick off with stuff. Just make sure I'm aware of it. And I think that's basically it for cats and safety tools. Do you all have any questions about any of that? Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and introduce characters. Now, Brindlewood Bay, I know you're all very familiar with the Between, especially. Brindlewood Bay does not have the same restrictions in terms of talking about your character's backstory. It's not that kind of story. Nevertheless, I do think that you should hold some things in reserve, especially things that are on the crown of the queen, and maybe save those for gameplay. But in the beginning, we're going to kind of do this in 2 steps. We're first going to go around the table and meet your characters in just the most basic sense. We will learn about just their name, their personal style, their cozy activity, and whatever Maven move you have chosen. And then we'll go back around again, and we're going to talk about 3 different aspects of their past. Their deceased partner, because every Maven has a deceased partner. Their children, if they have any, pets are okay. And then their career before they retired to Brindlewood Bay. And during all of this process, everyone's going to pay really close attention to what everyone says so that when it comes time, you're able to say some things that can be found in that Murder Maven's home, which will get added to the part of the character sheet called a cozy little place, which is kind of functionally your equipment list if we want to compare it to other tabletop role-playing game experiences. And so with all that said, I'm going to take a look at the sheet here. I'm meeting these Mavens for the very first time, so we're going to start with, in the order of the sheet, Chaotic and Rosemary. Just give us the basics for now, Chaotic.
I picked Rosemary. She wears all the cardigans. Her cozy activity is charity events, and the Maven move I picked was August Dupin or Dupin?
Dupan.
Dupan. Just that means I just can ask you a question about what is going to happen, and I can also ask why, because I increased my reason by 1, so it's 2.
Very good. I love it. August Dupin, of course, is a reference to the Edgar Allan Poe mystery, the name of which I'm forgetting at the moment, but it's the very first. It's considered the first mystery book that was ever published. It famously is not solvable. Like if you read it, it's impossible to get to the solution. And so some people don't really consider it a mystery book, but it is generally considered the first mystery book. And August Dupin was kind of had almost supernatural instincts for what was happening in a situation. So that's where that move comes from. All right, let's keep going in this first pass with Amanda. Tell us about your character, Amanda.
I am playing Doll Ryan. Her pronouns are she, her. Her style is blouse barn. So, really comfortable blouses that you can get 2 for 1 if you want. And, those really high up elastic band pants with a little tie. Comfortable, yet looks good. Her cozy activity is bingo because she's very grandma. The move that I have, oh, sorry, the extra point, because you always get to put an extra point into one of your skills, and I put mine into presence because she's very charming. The move I have chosen is Encyclopedia Brown. Once per mystery, you can introduce a piece of real-world trivia about something in a scene, and that trivia is a clue.
Very
So that'll
good.
be
I
fun.
love it. I love that. I like that you picked the one style choice that is inspired by a Canadian thing. I don't know if you know that or not, but it is.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
What's it inspired
Blouse
by?
Barn is from Schitt's Creek. It's a
Oh,
Schitt's Creek reference.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, don't tell the rest of Canada, but I haven't seen Schitt's Creek yet.
I know that. I actually know that, and I think that's deeply shameful. So
Yeah, well,
someone should
that's
lock you in a dark
lot
room,
of what
frankly.
I do is deeply shameful.
Fantastic. All right, let's keep going. All right, Alex, tell us about Muriel.
Yes, I'm playing Muriel McGregor. Pronoun she, her. Her style is tenaciously tartan, I guess, which is to say Scottish clothing all the way down, scarves and skirts and leggings, and very much like that kind of like golfer's cap kind of thing. Just picture, if you're familiar with the 1980s children's TV show Super Grand, let's picture that. That's exactly what I'm basing this off of. And I have 2 cozy activities. I have pottery and herbalism, because my Maven move is Catfile, which I am a highly skilled herbalist, and I get an additional cozy move, herbalism. And basically, if there's an herbal tincture or decoction that would be helpful in a situation, I can take the time to make it and add it to my cozy little place. Oh, and I put a point in vitality because I am a feisty Scotswoman.
Fabulous. If folks have never watched the Cadfael TV series, you should do that. It's very, very good. Okay, let's keep going with Wes and Alabama Ice.
Alabama Ice, also known as Alice Olinger. I am playing Alice, who is a bit of a photographer. Had spent a lot of her early years being a crime columnist, photographer, crime scene, like working for like different various publications around the Appalachian Mountains. Her style is office hours, so you can always see her wearing a nice little like a blouse with a blazer and some slacks, and typically some very smart shoes that are perfect for walking around an office. Always carrying a camera and a camera bag with her as well. Has very full voluminous hair that is always kept smartly. It's curly with grays and nice salt and pepper concoction going on there. And I took the move Clarice Starling. So to not go too heavy into it, but essentially with Clarice Starling, eventually once we put a criminal or a suspect behind bars from one of our mysteries, I can choose them to be a consultant, which I will go and visit in prison and spend time with, and trying to I'll do a meddling move with them. And depending on where I am with my Crown of the Void, things happen. And things get very spicy.
It becomes very complicated. Yeah.
Very, very complicated, which I love.
Yeah.
I was very, very into this move when I first read it. And I was like, I gotta have it.
There's a really strong chance if history has anything to say about it that David Krause is your consultant, but we'll see. Or David Krause. But who knows? Maybe it won't be. All right. So, or you could wait till the second mystery too, pick somebody from there. Fabulous. Okay, we're going to go back around the table. I was just reminded that Poe book is Murders on the Rue Morgue. Thank you for that. Whoever reminded me of that, Amanda. Okay, so Chaotic, 3 details about Rosemary that we need to know. And once you're done telling us, the rest of us are going to say something that we think can be found in your home based off everything we know about her so far. And so deceased partner, kids if you had them, and what'd you do before this?
Okay. My deceased partner was Marcus Mortimer, aka the M&M guy. Uh, he we moved to Brindlewood Bay together, but he died shortly after the move. It was rather unfortunate. He was very soft spoken, very kind, and I'm the more rambunctious of the pair. At least I consider that. Uh, our children's situation is a bit unique because they're not actually my kids. We previously we lived next door to the Johnsons, and we were very close family friends, and I helped raise the kids, and so basically I am Auntie Rosemary to them. So I still make like weekly calls to them. Uh, and before retiring to Brindlewood Bay, I worked at Nowhere Lounge, a bar, and it was a little bit of an odd job for me because, fun fact, I've worn blouses since I was in my 30s. So like just like this like the short little woman who just wears blouses to like a late night bar is just a little bit weird. So and yeah, I think that's about it.
Fantastic. So at this point, the rest of us are going to each say something that we think can be found in your home, and then you'll add that to your part of this character sheet called A Cozy Little Place. And for people watching the video who don't know, or just for purposes of showing the game, these items can be used in the future for die rolls. So if you kind of use it in the way you describe your action, you can mark it off to get a bonus on your die roll. But I'm going to kick off, though, since you've said that your Cozy Activities charity events, I think you have a Rolodex, which is it's filled with lots of helpful contact information. So
I got one. Oh, you wanna go?
Oh, please go ahead, Alex.
Okay. I feel like bars used to do this all the time, although I've never experienced it myself. Like you have like one of those like business specific like matchbooks from the Nowhere Lounge, just like a little box of matches essentially that because bars used to do that, I guess. Like you could just get matches from the bar. Yeah. So there you go.
I think also from your bar, Rosemary, you have one of those electronic fish on a plaque that moves and sings.
a Billy
Billy Bass?
Billy Bass or Big Mouth
Something
Billy or something. Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, I don't remember what they're called, but you definitely have one.
I feel like Alabama Ice would know, but if
Yeah.
that was a real person, she would know who that was.
It is, in fact, Big Mouth Billy Bass.
Good.
You never forget the big mouth.
I do know what a Rolodex is. My grandmother had one, so it was just like this little like thing where you can like just flip on through like a bunch of contact information normally, but she used it for recipes instead.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Amanda's calling us out in the Zoom chat.
Yeah, just so
being
people
young.
know. Okay, so Wes, you have to give Rosemary an item.
You're going to have as well a cricket bat that has written on the side of it Andrew. That Andrew is your bouncer, your security for that used to be for the Nowhere Lounge. So it's an old holdover from your days at the Nowhere Lounge. You didn't have a bouncer security, but all you had to do was look at Andrew on the wall, and people knew not to mess around.
Very good. I love it. Okay. Let's keep on going. All right. So, Doll, tell us the basics, or not the basics, these more advanced questions. Yeah.
So Doll is from a small town in Atlantic Canada. She spent her life as a housewife and she helped her husband out at his shop. His name was Michael Ryan, and he died in the war, which of course was the name of the World War II antique shop that they owned. And he sorry, Alex. He owned this shop for a really long time. When he passed away there, Doll really couldn't keep it open by herself anymore. She has 8 children, but none of them stayed at home. They all left to different parts of the world, and now she has 13 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. She moved to Brindlewood Bay when her son Danny got a job on fishing boats in the area. So she shares a home with Danny. He's not home very much. He's usually out on the boats traveling the world. So it's mostly just her by herself these days. But she tries to stay in contact with all of her family, a very large family, as much as she can. But mostly she reads murder mysteries, plays bingo, and gets into everyone's business.
I love it. I'm going to go with the easy thing, but also it's kind of the thing that really only the keeper can kind of do, and say that Danny is in your cozy little place, so you can call on him for things.
The number is very important, but a half a dozen bingo stamps, like those like markers where you just like place on just.
I want to be a little wild and crazy here. I was thinking one thing, but then you mentioned the war, as in your shop of World War II antiques. I'm gonna give you an item that I'm thinking I'm just gonna call hand grenade ? Is it a dud? Is it a real grenade? We don't know.
Yes, I'm so excited about that.
I'm going to give you, just based off of the photo, the image that you chose as well, a series of bracelets made, and you can shorten this however, a series of bracelets made of fine rocks and minerals. So fine rocks and mineral bracelets, numerous of them. Would love to see what you can concoct with that.
They bring me luck at the bingo table. They're my lucky bracelets.
There you go.
Is that everyone? I think it is. Let's go then to Muriel.
Yeah.
Deceased partner, children, etc.
Yeah, Muriel was married to a man named Gavin McGregor, who was a shipbuilder in Glasgow. He was a very massive man, very solidly built. Outwardly had all the looks of a hard man, the Scottish archetype of a gangster. But he was actually this very gentle giant, very stoic, silent, kind, and an exceptionally good cook. They tried for children, but none ever came. They did, however, adopt Gavin's nephew Hamish after his parents passed away, and kind of raised them up in Glasgow. They also had a dog named Wally the Border Collie, so short for William Wallace. And before retiring to Brindlewood Bay, after Gavin's shipyard closed, they opened a pub together, and they ran that for many decades along the River Clyde. Gavin passed away, and Muriel kind of kept the place open for a few more years, but eventually she closed it down and decided to move to America and settle down somewhere and live her life.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
There's an idea for an item.
And I don't know what Hamish does, real quick. I'll just say I don't know what Hamish is doing up to right now. I haven't thought about that yet, but yeah.
You have a bottle of really expensive, peaty Scottish, whiskey scotch. Mm-hmm. Maybe from, I don't know, you can decide where.
I'm going to call that the most Scottish whiskey.
You have this little model of a ship in a bottle.
I'm going to say that you have actually a quite extensive herb garden.
You have a medal from a Highland Games where you won the Scottish hammer throw. It was the only time you ever competed, and you won, and you carry it wherever you go.
From the Highland Games, you said?
From the Highland Games. Not a
Amazing.
Highland Games, the
The
Highland
Games.
Yeah.
Well, that tracks. 'Cause I'm absolutely thinking Muriel like was born and raised in the Highlands before she moved to Glasgow. So that's great.
I mean, when it comes to the Highland Games, there can only be one.
Boo.
So. Very good.
Awesome.
Alice.
Yeah, I love that.
Alice, tell us about your deceased partner, your kids, and what you did before.
Yeah, so Alice's deceased partner, his name was Trooper Olinger. He was a true crime journalist that Alice met at a National Newspaper Association conference in New Orleans. They had a whirlwind romance that lasted where they barely went to the conference themselves and they just went around the city, fell in love, and they were inseparable until his death. He wrote a number of articles that she shot photos for, which led to her getting a Pulitzer Prize. They both won a joint Pulitzer Prize, and she decided, you know what, that's enough. It was covering it was for a major West Virginia newspaper that covered police oversight on a series of cut and dry cases, just talking about how most of the time the most easy of cases will be just pushed to the side, because a lot of them go for the big ticket ones, the big ones. It was a massive blowout, and Big talks about they have one child whose name is Sky, they them, who is a dentist out west, and Alice always talks about her child Sky that's out there out west just making a great living. And so yeah, and she spends most of her time just doing landscape photography. After years of photographing very gruesome and dramatic photos, it's time to focus on things like coastal landscapes and up close photos of people's dogs and things of that nature. So yeah, that's Alice.
I love it. I'm gonna say this is kind of the offbeat one, and it's not really a thing in your house, but I'm going to say that you have a producer credit on Small Town Big Crime, the 182nd ranked true crime podcast.
Top 200, baby.
That's good. Top 200. Got that iTunes top 200.
You have a variety of photography equipment, ranging from the most modern like cameras to digital sort of things, but also more mechanical cameras.
I like that.
You have a notebook that you don't look at often, but you do keep around. You just can't bring yourself to throw it away. And it's all the cold cases that kind of just stuck with you and bothered you.
Amanda just stole mine. I think I need to think now. Let's see. I'm still really thrown by 182nd ranked. Let me look at your thing here. So wait, Sky's a dentist out west.
No specificity on where out west.
Yeah.
Just Alice is always like, oh yeah, Sky's out west, just doing their thing out there.
Oh, you know what? You were like you were a true crime journalist. Let's get a little like weird. This is, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is too weird to justify. This would be in your house, but not necessarily something you can bring around with you. You straight up have a microfiche like machine in your house. Like, yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so we've met these mavens. I love them all already. They're great. Let me take a look at my step-by-step here to see what we have to do next. We have introduced the characters. We're supposed to take a break here. We might here in just a bit. And yeah. Okay, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and, well, first of all, I want to say that even though this is a game set in a particular region of the United States, we aren't going to dwell on historical and cultural accuracy. We'll do our best to represent the culture of the region, but we're going to get some things wrong every now and then, and that's okay. The book gets many things wrong, actually, and that's okay. I'd also like to point out that in the world of Brindlewood Bay, things like race, nationality, gender, ethnicity, sexuality, disability, and neurodivergence are not a social barrier. Now, with all that said, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and mark 2 end of session questions in addition to the first, which is always marked. And does anyone have a Maven move that fires off right now? I don't think you do. No, we don't. So we don't have to worry about that. In that case, I think we'll be ready to go with Cozy Vignettes. We're going to take a quick break, like 5 minutes. When we come back, we're going to kick off with Cozy Vignettes. The best way to think about these are, it is the opening credit montage where we see your characters enjoying their life in Brindlewood Bay. The vignette should be either warm and cozy or light and breezy, but in any case, there's no role play. It's just you describing your Maven doing something. So we'll do that when we get back. Let's take 5. Okay. The opening credit music is playing, bum 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 bum, or however it goes. Let's do Cozy Vignettes. Whoever wants to kick off, go ahead.
I think the camera zooms down into the bingo hall, the Brindlewood Bay bingo hall, and we see Doll. She's sitting at the table. She's got like 20 different bingo cards going at the same time. She's got a bingo dabber in each hand. She's wearing her lucky bingo hat. It says bingo on it. She has one of those troll dolls. This one has green hair and a little green gem. She has a little statue of a sea captain, and on it says Captain Dildo. Of course, he is the namesake of the town she is from, Dildo, Newfoundland, which is a real town. And she has a whole bunch of like little rocks and stuff that were given to her by her grandchildren for extra luck for bingo. And she is just like, her hand barely even, you can't even see it moving. She's bingo dabbing so fast and kind of glaring at the other people around. She's generally a very good-hearted person, but she can get a bit competitive.
I got one. So we start at Muriel's home, which is, it looks like a Scottish cottage, basically. Not quite having a thatched roof, but yeah, very quaint little kind of cottage lifestyle, fenced in, beautiful herb garden next, in a little planter kind of thing. And we see her backyard. She steps out of her house with like a tray load full of like clay and like sculpting supplies. She's wearing like clay, stain covered coveralls, essentially, smoking a cigarette, sits down next to her outdoor little brick kiln she's made, and just begins to like slap clay and just very like roughly and deftly start to shape it, and it zooms in on the pottery, and then it transitions to the completed product, which is like a little kind of like tea mug that is freshly glazed and painted, and she pulling it from the kiln. And we see her moving around her little herb garden, picking up herbs and then steeping them in some water in her newly made mug, sipping them by her window, and then going for a lovely bike ride on the most old English countryside bike you've ever seen, riding around the hills of Brindlewood Bay in her tartan Scottish clothes.
I think the camera pans around a hill and it comes down to a beach side where we see a bunch of seagulls flapping, and there's a boat off in the distance, and then it hands around and you just see a camera lens snap, look down, smiles, looks up, sees another bird, pans, and then some droppings hit the camera lens, and then it's just like a oh shucks kind of moment with Alice, and then just moves on.
Love it.
I think with Rosemary, like she's like on this like stretch of the like lane where all the houses look the same, but we pan into the window and it looks completely retro, like everything's from the 70s. Like there's a bunch of knickknacks all over the wall, like there's a few different lava lamps, and like we see her on the phone, and it's a collector's item of the Garfield phones, and she's just like talking away, just being very happy. The conversation isn't really being heard over like the theme music and what have you. So yeah, that's where we see Rosemary.
Fantastic. Our first mystery is called Dad Overboard, and it opens up at the top floor of the Candlelight Booksellers. The Candlelight Booksellers is where the Murder Mavens have their meetings. Now, these characters, the Murder Mavens, you all live in Brindlewood Bay. You all have your own hobbies, but you all share the hobby of murder mystery books. And once a week, every Saturday at around 6 p.m., you get together to discuss the latest mystery book that you're all reading. It is almost always the newest Gold Crown Mystery, which is a series of books featuring super sleuth Amanda Delacourt, authored by the mysterious Robin Masterson. And so that's where we're going to open up. Now, before we kind of get into the Candlelight Booksellers, I do want to take a moment to kind of talk about sort of the geography of this place and this town, because we're going to be doing a whole campaign. So I think it's worth knowing. And the best way to think about it is in terms of like almost like concentric circles building out, right? And at the heart of it in Brindlewood Bay is what's called the Village. The Village is it's just like the touristy part of town. It's the historic part of town. It's the original sort of like whaling town that Brindlewood Bay used to be, and now it's kind of filled with like shops and other little like kind of cutesy things for tourists. The Candlelight Booksellers is located in the Village. It's one of two bookstores in the Village, in fact. The other one focuses on more like antique books, like first print run books. And once you go outside that circle of the Village, then you have Brindlewood Bay town proper. That's where like people live, where more of the like sort of modern day businesses are located. And but all of it together is Brindlewood Bay. Just outside of that is Brindlewood County. And there are two other towns in Brindlewood County, Mucky Point and Faversham. We might learn more about them later, but an interesting historical detail is that it used to all be called Mucky Point. Brindlewood Bay used to be called Mucky Point. During the Revolutionary War, that's what it was called. And now Mucky Point is just this very tiny little dot on the map, mostly known for its historic lighthouse. Otherwise, there's not much to Mucky Point. It all became Brindlewood Bay after, well, some things that we'll get into in the future. And so that's this setting, and then beyond that, there's Boston. So and the greater Massachusetts area. And so, for now, though, we are in the loft of the Candlelight Booksellers, and I think as our camera pans around this loft where you hold these Murder Mavens meetings, I'd like to ask everybody, what do we see that shows how you have personalized this space?
Think very easily that Alice has set up a series of photos on the wall of just the Mavens at various events, different clubs that we've probably tried beforehand when we figured out that maybe this murder mystery book club might be a better thing instead of like a knitting club, or like, you know, we've tried pottery, all of our different cozy activities. Pictures of us in like a different, you know, just different activities like that.
Up on one of the walls, there's pinned into the wall a bunch of winning bingo cards, and on it written the amount that Doll has won. She keeps track. She's trying to get the other ladies to help her figure out like the best bingo cards to get to figure out the pattern, because there's got to be a pattern, right? But so far, it's not happening.
The loft is very well decorated with potted plants, things that have, you know, like ferns, and some of them are real, some of them are fake because it's impossible to manage all of them at once, and some of the room just doesn't, some of the corners of the room just don't get enough sunlight, but also, and they're all in pots that Muriel has made.
There is a second lost and found This one in particular, if any item remains in there for more than like 2 weeks, Rosemary will claim. So you best want to put anything you find in the lost and found downstairs rather than the one that's upstairs.
Now, at this point in time, the murder mavens have helped local law enforcement with the resolution of some minor crimes, no murders. Things like someone's newspaper keeps going missing, or a lost pet, or someone is doing a series of break-ins. That was probably the most serious thing that you helped out with, because as you've been reading these mystery books and getting really deep into it, you're actually picking up skills that help you understand the criminal mind, as it were. But tonight, some different sort of mystery is going to land on the murder maven's doorstep. Just as your meeting is ending, Brindlewood County's chief law enforcement officer, Sheriff Wyman Dalrymple, hoists himself upstairs to the loft area, takes a moment at the top of the stairs to catch his breath. Sheriff Dalrymple doesn't do much to take care of himself and his body, sadly. And he's also just, he's just kind of one of those people who wears exasperation like an article of clothing. It's just his thing, right? And so when he gets up at the top of the steps, he's just like, ladies, it seems I might need your help with another matter that's come up here in town.
Oh dear. Well, I'm sure we'd be very happy to help you. Are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine. Just a little shaken by something we have going on right now. This is not a case of missing outdoor planters or lawn furniture, ladies. This is something a little more serious.
Constable, would you mind taking a seat? You look right knackered. Don't want you
Grab me
falling
some
back.
tea.
Hey, get the man some tea.
He's like, yeah, I no need to fuss. No need to fuss. It's I'm okay. I'm okay. Ladies, I'm afraid that the calm and tranquility, the relative placidity of our sweet little town has been disrupted by murder.
Like you talking about like dog napping type of murder, Sheriff? Not like somebody being dead right now there, Sheriff, right?
I'm talking about murder. We, well, earlier today, we dragged a body out of the bay, and it wasn't a living body. It was a dead one.
Typically assume that in the connotation of a body being dredged from the bay, it would be dead, Constable.
Yes, that is your deduction skills at work, it would seem, Muriel.
Well, nobody in Brindlewood Bay would do such a thing. It has to be somebody from Faversham.
It wasn't. Oh, goodness, it wasn't the lifeguard, was it?
Maybe somebody fell in. Oh, no.
That's terrible.
No, hey.
That's terrible. No.
That's awful. That's right awful.
It's nothing like that. The man that we dragged out of the bay, we've identified him as Albert Krause. He's a big shot financial guy from Boston. His family, they're actually here in town. Well, their yacht is parked out in the bay.
Oh, that eyesore?
Well, that is one way of putting it. It's certainly too big to actually pull into harbor. They have to anchor a little ways out. The surviving Krauses, wife Allison, eldest daughter Sarah, son David, and youngest daughter Emily, they're all out there on their boat. I guess they were here vacationing or, I don't know, pleasure cruising, who knows. But they claim that Mr. Krause must have gotten drunk one night and just fell over. But I suspect foul play. But I have not been able to produce any evidence so far to that effect. And because we don't have a morgue or any other kind of infrastructure to handle this kind of thing, I'm going to have to let them take the body back to Boston. And, well, I'd rather not do that. I need to figure out some kind of connection, something that proves that there is a criminal case here so that I can keep the body here in Brindlewood Bay. That's where you come in.
Without a morgue. How does Brindlewood Bay not have a morgue? That's...
Well, Rosemary, it has come up several times during town council meetings, but the town council feels that things like a morgue would diminish the quaint character of our town and therefore be a hindrance to our tourism industry. It is not my decision. The county, of course, thinks that we should have such facilities, but when it comes to county business, Brindlewood Bay Town Council has a lot of sway and a lot of pull. We're actually keeping the body right now at the fish market. One of the fishmongers there, Etienne Beauregard, he is, you may know him, he's actually a friend of the Krauses, as it turns out, and so he's been happy to store Mr. Krause's body for us until we can get to the bottom of this.
Look here, Sheriff. I don't mean to tell you how to do your job and everything like that. I once co-authored a article on police oversight down south, and it seems like the lack of facilities and the lack of proper police procedure here has got you in a bit of a pickle here. Now, I'm not one for investigations, but I would love to walk you through different standard operating procedures to help maybe talk to the city council to where you can get proper facilities.
Alice, that sounds like a terrific idea and something to be dealt with at a later time. I'm certainly very impressed by your desire to be so civically engaged, but we have a more pressing matter, which is I need evidence that there is foul play going on with the death of Mr. Krause so that we can keep his body here and not have it have to send it to Boston.
Constable Dalrymple, you sound so sure that this is a murder. What is leading
That's Sheriff Dalrymple, Muriel, but yes.
Oh, Sheriff, forgive me. I forget how they use the terminology here in the New World. Tell me, Sheriff Dalrymple, what is it that makes you suspect foul play?
Well, Mr. Krause has a pretty bad head injury, and certainly that could have happened from falling overboard and hitting some rocks, but I don't know. Something about it makes me think it was done with an implement. It seems too, I don't know, precise of a blow, we'll say.
Oh, I see. Well, I've been in my fair share of tussles, so I suppose I'll trust you on your word that if this looks to be like a wound inflicted from some ne'er-do-well, then I'm sure that, well, let's just say I've seen my fair share of scraps back where I come from. Why us? We've never been involved in something this, well, dare I say, grisly.
Well, if you must know, Muriel, the town council is of the belief that your little group, because of the sort of minor matters you've helped us out with in the past, they think that your little group actually brings a lot of positive attention to Brindlewood Bay.
Oh.
It's a
Well,
kind of a
very
PR
nice,
thing. And so getting you involved in something like this, well, it's a way of offsetting the general terror and horror of a murder taking place in our little town. Does that make sense? It's all about balance.
Okay, I'll take you for your word on that, Sheriff Dalrymple.
Trust me, no one is more frustrated about having to ask for the help from a bunch of, well, lovely women as yourselves with a crime. But, well, the town council has a good point from a PR perspective. And, well, I could certainly use your help.
Well,
I kind of speak to the stomachs of my fellow mavens here, but I've seen my fair share of grisly things back in Glasgow. So at the very least, I'm happy to give this a cursory once over, see if we can point out anything that you and your fine constabulary have missed.
The
Well,
sheriff's
I've had
department.
8 kids
Hey.
in 10 years, so I have a pretty strong stomach. And I know quite a bit about fish. You know, my hometown Dildo, there was a lot of fishing there.
Alice is just gonna have that quick like eyebrow up every time the town is.
I think everyone
mentioned.
does. We're all like,
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
always like kind of gives you like a funny look. Like,
Rosemary's just like writing down all the notes and eventually just devolves into why the fuck what is wrong with Brindlewood Bay? What is wrong with Sheriff Dalrymple about this? Like
dildo.
Dildo.
Turn the page. All right.
Turn the page. Very well. So he has given you some basics here. The body is being stored at the fish market. You can certainly go take a look at that. Although he will say that Etienne and the Krause's people are being a little possessive of the body right now. He actually doesn't have access to the body in the way that he would like. And so you may have to sneak in to get a look or convince Etienne to let you look at the body. You can go talk to the Krauses. The harbor master at the pier would be happy to commandeer a boat for you and take you out to their yacht if you wish to go speak to them. You can do that tonight or tomorrow as you wish. And he also gives you a couple of other names of people who might be involved with this. In addition to the Krauses and Etienne, the Krauses captain of their yacht, the Regal Lady, his name is Captain Curly. And then there is also Andrew, the butler. And Sheriff Dalrymple probably made some appropriate, perhaps the butler did it joke when he told you about that. In any case, these are sort of your leads, right? You can proceed with the investigation however you want. You can do things tonight. You can wait until tomorrow morning. Yeah. He will remind you as he's going down the stairs that he only needs evidence of foul play. You do not, and in fact should not, under any circumstance, solve the entire mystery. We get all the benefit of the murder mavens looking into this by you just giving us one helpful piece of evidence. We can handle it from there. And he goes
I feel like the
downstairs.
moment Dalrymple leaves, Muriel is like, calling after him, just being like, "Oh, you have a very pleasant evening, Sheriff. We'll get right on it as soon as we can. Trust in us." I close the door and I like turn around and look at my fellow mavens very conspiratorially, and I'm like, "Now, it might just be me. I'm a bit more of the brazen type, as you all know, but I'm feeling a bit like Robin Masterson."
He didn't even finish his tea. And that's a little bit on the rude side.
Well, to be fair, my dear, I'm very used to Americans not finishing the tea I grant them with, considering we tend to brew it a lot stronger in Glasgow. I find that you folk don't like tea nearly as much as I do, and that's all right. You all have your tastes. I can't fault the sheriff for that.
I don't know what you're talking about. And you see Alice have a glass of sweet tea with a lemon in it and just sips from it reflexively.
Muriel just cringes inside.
Alabama iced tea.
Alabama ice.
So I gather you're all going to head downstairs to
Yeah.
go take a look at this. What's everyone thinking about their initial approach? You can split up, of course. There's no danger, and this is not one of those. It's dangerous to split the party games. You can certainly approach this however you want. What do we think? We'll start with Doll.
Doll is a lot more comfortable around fish than around yachts, so I think that's where she's gonna head.
Fish market sounds good. What about Rosemary?
I definitely want to get a chance at the body. I think between the two of us, someone may cause a distraction, or at least we can talk to Etienne to get like on through.
Love that. Alice?
Alice is better at observational things, keeping an eye out. So I might keep an eye out at the fish market, but also, maybe go talk and secure a boat, that kind of thing. Learn a little bit more about the Krauses, so we can better approach them. It's better to look at the suspects and be able to, to tackle them from a conversational standpoint.
Muriel?
We already got two ladies on the body so far, and Muriel's pretty comfortable around violence. At least she doesn't have her stomach turned. But I think what she's going to do instead, trusting that in the capable hands of Rosemary and Doll, is walk around the harbor, kind of like beach bay area, wherever this body washed up. She kind of wants to walk along the riverside and kind of like pensively look around and see if there's anything that may have also washed up.
I love that. So we kind of have like two groups at this point, like two of you kind of doing more beach patrol and the other two doing fish patrol, as it were.
Absolutely.
As you head downstairs to the bookstore proper, you actually see a woman who you've never seen before in town, which is not totally unusual because it's a tourist town. She is tall, quite luminous, with short red hair, and she's wearing an outfit that I would describe as very haute couture, very avant-garde, color blocks, asymmetrical kind of cut, right? She looks very much like a Tilda Swinton or a Cate Blanchett type figure, right? She's kind of got that presence to her. And as you're coming down the stairs, she's just pinning something to this sort of community corkboard. And she turns when she sees you and she says, "Excuse me, are you the Murder Mavens?"
Who's asking?
My name is Corinne Waitley. I am the founder and owner of a small chain of wellness centers called the Ninth Step. Perhaps you've heard of it. We're actually opening a new location here in the village, and I wanted to talk to you all about how we might be helpful to one another.
Was that Karen Waitley or
Corinne?
Corinne? How
Corinne.
do
I'll
you
type
spell
it for you. I'll
spell
type it for
that?
you. It's Corinne.
Well, I can't speak for my friends here, but I love to help around the community. So whatever you need, I'm sure I can contribute to.
Well, the ninth step is, our philosophy is all about embracing wellness of body, health, and the connection between the spirit and the corporeal. We like to call it the fusion of the inner and outer beauty of a person. In any case, we are trying to get, how shall I say, older clientele to embrace health and wellness. Our philosophy is that it's never too late to embrace a new way of living, a new way of thinking about one's health and wellness. And you all are something of local celebrities here in Brindlewood Bay. And since we're opening the new Ninth Step, I thought that maybe you might like to come in and maybe, sit for a lecture. We might even have space for you to hold your meetings, that sort of thing.
Is this some Satanist stuff?
No, of course not. Do I look like I'm involved in such things? No. This is more, it's like yoga, I think, is probably the most...
It's New Age spiritualism. I saw that back.
That's not completely incorrect. I think people are just looking for answers that they can't find in media, entertainment, politics. The ninth step is all about going inward, going really deep, and discovering the essential you.
Of course.
My daughter Jessie has warned me about things like this. They're called MLMs. And she said that I have to be careful so that I don't get caught up in them.
It's
Something to
nothing
do
like
with a
that.
pyramid.
It's nothing like that. all we need is for you to come by during the opening of this new facility and, just sit for a lecture, and we'll take a few pictures for the local paper. And it's just a nice little bit of publicity, I guess.
Corinne, you look sweet. Me and my trooper back in the day, we tried a bit of everything: holistic healing, colonics, that kind of thing. So don't worry. Happy to step by. I'm a bit of a photographer myself, so I wouldn't mind, taking
Fantastic.
some headshots,
Yes.
get some programs work for you. Yeah, of course.
I
My
love that.
rates can be found on my website. My dear
course.
Sky set it up for me and everything. So yeah,
Absolutely. We wouldn't expect you to do this for free, of course.
Oh, sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. Very nice meeting you, Corinne. Ladies, we have something very important to go do.
Well, at least take my card. And she
I'll
gives
take
you
the card.
her card for the 9th step, and it says her name, Corinne Waitley. And then she goes back to hanging up flyers of the opening of the new branch of the 9th step here in the village.
When we walk out, I look over at Doll and I say, MLM, isn't that one of your American rappers?
No.
Oh, my dear, I'm not American.
Oh, sorry. I always get so confused.
So we have two
Sock
groups. Two groups. Fish market, beach. Let's take a look at our locations here. I think as you are exiting the Candlelight Booksellers, you actually see a young woman in a hoodie and a Super Metroid t-shirt. She peeks over the top of a copy of The Murders in the Rue Morgue and Other Chilling Tales and raises her book above her face. I want to talk about the Krause family a little bit. Alice, you actually have a connection to one of the Krause children, either Emily, Sarah, or David. What's that connection? What are the circumstances around you knowing them? Alice, did you hear that?
sorry, my bad. I was looking over my sheet. Yeah.
Oh no, it's
pardon me.
okay. You met one of the Krause children several years ago, either Emily, David, or Sarah. Which one is it, and what was the purpose of that meeting?
David Krause was a figure back in the mainland, main continental U.S. I mean, Brindlewood Bay. It's all amalgamation. But met him at a nice little conference where we're talking about true crime podcasting. He had such an interest in it and was very interested in talking to me. And we had a nice little dinner, and just a nice, wholesome young man. Really understood art and the things that really pushed through art. It was very nice. Nothing off-putting though.
So you have a connection then to the Krauses, which is something that might be useful in the future.
Absolutely.
But you're leaving the store, and this young woman peeks over her book and then puts her book back in front of her face. And you go your separate ways to do your investigation. I think for the two of you who are going to kind of the pier and the beach area, I think you pass a pair of grizzled, salt-encrusted locals kind of sneering at a dewy social media influencer making a video, doing the whole "hi guys" thing. And that is kind of Brindlewood Bay in a nutshell, right? It's old timers, people who've been here for a long time, and like new people, right? There's also a young family on vacation that you see. Clearly the end of a long day. Kids are tired and unruly, and she's doing her best to keep them under control. That's another very common sight around this time of year. For those of you who are heading to the fish market, a fishmonger rolls past you with an ice-packed cart. It's a cornucopia of the sea: black sea bass, bluefish, mussels, crabs, and more. The fish market, we'll start with, it is a place to sell fish, but it is really more of a tourist spot. it's the kind of place where fishmongers are tossing the, fish back and forth as almost like a performance for the crowd, right? And there are like Edison string lights strung overhead, so it has this very like almost like romantic look to it. Let's paint the scene, everyone. What do we see that reminds you why you love the fish market, or what about this place makes you hate coming down here? And it's for everyone, even the Mavens who aren't there.
The smell. Oh, the smell of the fish market. It reminds me of dildo. It's just really, you know how memories get evoked from your senses, your olfactory senses? It's just like that. I can smell the cod and I can smell the tuna, and it's just brings me home.
But in a bad way. Like in a bad way or a good way?
Oh, sorry, in a good way. In a good
Oh.
way. Like, not in a bad way.
It brings me home.
I wasn't
but in
sure
a
if that
bad
was
way.
good or bad.
No.
So it's a good memory. It's a good
Yes.
thing.
It reminds me of home and why I left.
Well, I'll never go back. No, it reminds me of family and friends and
Okay.
childhood.
Very good.
I'm as well, like we're walking through the fish market. For a brief moment, I make eye contact with one of the fishmongers, Billy, because the last time I was here, they were tossing the fish and it hit me in the goddamn face. I will not forgive Billy for that. He knows what he did. He was aiming straight at me.
I think it reminds Muriel of fish markets back along the River Clyde in Glasgow. I mean, it was very much like less showy, and indeed the showiness is a bit of an irritation with all this kind of like presentation they throw into it. But I mean, listen, Muriel owned a pub for many good years and bought a lot of really good fish at her fish markets back home, and has like fond memories of walking around fish markets with her husband. So she despite the kind of irritation at the how showy it is, she does like being around kind of the whole like fishmongery side of things.
Alice hates it. It is the inverse of what Alice is familiar with. There's nary a pine tree to be seen around the fish market on the beach. Alice has never been a fan of beaches, and so coming to Brindlewood Bay was more of Trooper's idea. So it's one of those things. The reason why Alice sticks around Brindlewood Bay is because of Trooper and to honor Trooper. And so it's like, well, it doesn't feel familiar, but you know what? It's okay. We'll deal with it little by little.
I love it. So Doll and Rosemary, I think you basically have like kind of, if you're trying to see the body, I mean, there are maybe two approaches here, but I'm open to other ideas as well. You have maybe sneaking into the back of the fish market as a possibility. Or trying to find Etienne to see if he'll let you in to find or to look at the body, just convince him to let you look at it. Or maybe there's another approach. Doll, what do you think?
Well, I'm not really, I don't want to sneak around too much. That seems kind of, I know they're being very close-lipped about things, but sneaking just feels like lying, and that makes me uncomfortable. So I think I'll just talk to Etienne. I mean, he's a fishmonger. He's probably going to be a very jovial kind of person. He's going to be a good kind.
You can never trust these fellows. They do not handle food safely.
Well, you're just being real bitter about that punk kid Billy.
Listen, I worked at a bar for several years. I know these things. There's a certain level of performance in the art, but this, people could get injured.
I think you're just being contrary. I think it'll be okay.
All right. But
I'll go talk to
eyes.
Etienne if you want to try and sneak in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to you. I'm not part of it.
I mean, I could always just... I got a feeling for these types of situations.
Well, so Rosemary, what are you going to do?
I'm going to probably sneak in the back.
Okay. We'll come back to this. Let's talk about the marina. So, which is generally speaking where the other two are. The smell of salt spray in the air, gulls declaiming overhead, and of course, as I've already noted, this mix of locals and tourists. I think you might pass a small child wailing in anguish, pure heart-rending sorrow, as they watch their ice cream cone melt on the boardwalk. Paint the scene at the marina. It's a busy time of year at the marina. In what ways are the tourists making it difficult for you to conduct your investigation? This is just for Muriel and Alice.
I think for Alice specifically, as we're making our way down the marina and everything, the tourists looking around, they see a woman with a camera and they automatically stop and pose as if expectantly to like have a picture taking of them. And Alice has got to be like, oh no, I'm sorry. That's it's just not. So it's a common thing that happens every time Alice goes down to the marina. Alice does not go to the marina explicitly because people always think that Alice is there to take people's photos.
I love it. Muriel?
Muriel believes that when you are moving about a very public space, you move with purpose. And that is what she's always found most irritating about living in a tourism town, especially at the marina when things are so busy this time of year. It's crowded. And listen, she lived in a big city. She can move through crowds, move, bob and weave decisively. But the problem is with these American tourists is they'll like move at varying paces. Some are too slow. Some are very fast and are just blundering by. And some will just stop in the middle of wherever they were walking to no consideration of the people around them. So Muriel's keeps like bumping into people and trying to like, okay, divert paths and go this way. And these people are being too slow and just move you touch it. And like just trying to get like through people to like, she gets a little steamed by it.
I love it. It's great. Well, so Muriel, what's your approach here? What are you going to do?
So with the marina, is it like just kind of like a waterfront, or is there like a sandy part? Where did the body
There's a
wash
beach
up?
part, yeah. So they actually the body didn't wash up. They fished him out of the bay.
Okay.
But yeah, so you can certainly go to where they pulled the body up onto the pier, probably, I would say. If maybe there might be something left over from that.
Yeah, because
no,
I mean,
it didn't wash up. Yeah.
If there's just like a stretch of like at least some kind of ground, like sand, where like the water, that she can get firm ground on, like over the marina's edge so she can look around, that's what she's going to do. She's like going down there and, picking little pieces of seaweed out of the water, because seaweed makes for very good mineral rich ingredients for her tinctures.
Very good. Yeah.
But then she's just going to kind of like look around, like kind of like squint, approximate where the body was, nod to herself. And then can I say she has like a shovel that she brought with her?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And she's just gonna like look around and then poke and start like digging through like the sifting through the sand to see if anything washed up and has kind of been hidden under layers of
Let's get dice on the table. So we're gonna do the meddling move to start here. I'm gonna pull my moves up. The meddling move says, when you search for a clue, conduct research, or otherwise gather information, you're doing all those things. Describe how you're doing so, you have, and roll with an appropriate ability. I would say it's reason. So go ahead and roll with reason.
Could I argue vitality because of my hefty shoveling?
I mean, I think the way you described it,
reason's fine.
seems more
Reason's
like
fine.
reason.
Yeah. I don't think any of my items could apply here, so I'll just roll 2d6. Yeah. All right. That's oh crap. That's a 6.
You're approached by someone who you know, Isaiah Langmore, the harbor master of Brindlewood Bay. He is the most crusted over of the salt-crusted old dogs of Brindlewood Bay. He has a very rolling gait, and he still wears like an antiquated sort of sailor's uniform. He looks like he's stepped out from another time period. He kind of approaches you, and he says, "What you doing, Muriel?"
What are you doing, Isaiah?
"I'm just here looking at all these looky-loos. looking about. That's what looky-loos do. They look about, don't they?
Do I look like a looking about looky-loo? Never mind my business. I'm just digging up some seaweed for my tinctures. What of my business does it concern you? Shouldn't you be more worried about the todgers up there bumping around into each other, making a real mess of things? I suspect that would be more within your purview,
You're
Isaiah.
here about that body, aren't you, Muriel?
Oh, body? What body?
The
So what if
body
I
that
am?
was fished out of the bay earlier today. Frankly, I'm a little surprised. It was as intact as it was. Normally, when things end up in the water, the chances are fair to middling that it'll never be seen again, at least alive. Have you ever seen what crabs will do to the body of a lost soul, Muriel?
I kind of see I have.
You don't want to end up in the waves without knowing how you're getting back to shore, if you know what I mean.
Isaiah, I'm from Glasgow, specifically Glasgow after the war. I'm nae afraid of you, boy. If you wouldn't mind, get out of my way.
I'd like to put on a crown as well.
Okay.
To still find a clue through these circumstances.
The complication is going to be marked by Isaiah Langmore. He's got his eye on you.
I'll absolutely take that as long. I'll still bump up the roll. I love that.
If you bump it up the roll, you'll get the clue
Okay.
plus that condition.
Gotcha. Love that. I'll do Crown of the Queen.
Sounds good. Go ahead and mark it for now.
I'll narrate it later. Yeah.
And I'll give you a clue in a bit. Alice, what are you doing?
I think Alice is taking the opposite of approach of, our dear friend Muriel here is going low. Alice is going to go high, bird's eye view. I'm going to try to see if I can find a place that's got a good overlook, so I can just kind of see if I can get any kind of good shots, angles on maybe how far out is the boat, just kind of those kind of things. It's just different factors, variables that are playing into why the body washed up, that kind of thing.
I like that very much. Go ahead and make the meddling move with, I'd say reason.
Okay. Let's go ahead and hit that. That's a 3 and that's a 6 as well.
That's a 6 as well.
Even with a +2.
You are up on a roof, we'll say, taking pictures. A couple of things. One, your viewfinder, or you're kind of getting zoomed in shots of people who are far away, looking at various tourists and different things and keeping an eye out. A little tricky at night, but something that stands out though, because it's nighttime, is you see a group of people who are all wearing loose-fitting, pristine white jumpers that are very visible in the dark, or more visible. And they are presumably a group of men and women, but it's a little hard to tell because they have all been shaved completely. They have no eyebrows, they have no hair. And their faces even have a sort of strange uniformity, as if they're wearing masks, but they're not. They're just talking. And they're keeping to themselves. And they eventually walk out of frame to where you can't see them. But they're definitely curious folks to be in Brindlewood Bay, to be sure. And then you hear the distinct click, click of a gun being held behind you in the shadows. We'll come back to that. So, Doll, you're looking for Etienne, correct?
Correct.
He's easy enough to find. Etienne Beauregard is well known in town. He is definitely something of a local ladies' man, I would say. And he puts on kind of a little show. He has a silver beard, very handsome, very hale. He does this sort of romantic Frenchman of the sea bit, you know. He's got his fish and he kind of dances with it in front of a crowd of tourists, you know. He does the whole les poissons, hee hee hee, ha ha ha. And he makes the fish dive in and like give kisses to like awkward husbands among family groups, right? That kind of thing. You know, look at the bass. You want to put your mouth on the mouth of the bass. He's so beautiful. He longs for you. And he makes the Billy Bass mouth move in a way, except it's an actual bass. And it's like, please, I love you very much. Please. I'm just a bass. But I have so much love in my heart. And he's doing all this, and families are laughing and kind of, you know, carrying on a bit. And eventually there's a break in the show. So what do you do?
Oh, Etienne.
He,
Etienne, it's Doll.
he says, oh, mon cher, how can I help you?
Oh, bonjour.
He says,
I
no, really, how can I help you? I'm in the middle of working.
know I don't want to interrupt for too long, my dear. I'm just okay. I heard about what happened to Albert Kraus,
We're
and
not talking about that right now.
why
That is,
not? You can
that's,
talk.
what do you know about? No, this is not supposed to be common
Etienne,
knowledge.
you know me. I know everything about everyone. But this thing I don't really know a lot about. I'm really worried if there's going to be things like this happening in our little town.
I think there's like a tourist is like, I actually do want to purchase the bass, actually. And Etienne's like, oh, un moment, ha ha ha. I'm working here.
Yes, you have definitely said a prayer to St. Andrew for this haul, but I need can I just one little tidbit of information. That's all I'm asking.
Do
Just
the
a
meddling
little.
move with presence, I guess.
Um, don't really have anything in my cozy little place that I can justify using to help. I rolled a 9.
9. Okay. We'll come back to this. Rosemary, the back of the fish market. You can slip into the back pretty easily. There's like a back kind of rolling door that's usually partially open because people go out to smoke cigarettes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a sort of chill back here because of all the cold storage. You do see quite a few surly sorts having a cigarette as you kind of sneak your way in, not really sneaking in, but just kind of walk in. And of course, there's this very strong fishy smell. Rosemary, you have the feeling you're being watched. What makes you think this?
I often know when things are about to go wrong, and typically I can stop them with just a stare at like whoever's causing unruly, but I'm not sure where this feeling of being watched is coming from. And it seems like I'm entering a new location for the first time, so I get to ask what is about to happen due to my Maven move.
Oh, indeed. What is about to happen is there is someone tailing you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make the wrong turn, they're going to threaten you.
Why is it about to happen?
Because you are already getting too close to the truth of Albert Kraus.
Oh,
Just asking the question is enough.
it's murder. I'm still going to go forward. I'm still gonna be a little bit more careful. Try to
I think
like,
yeah.
yeah.
You're trying to get into the actual fish storage locker where the body is, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a night move, and I want to ask you, what are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve, I think, here.
I lose my nerve. I'm just gonna back out and possibly run into the person anyways, like who's tailing me.
It's worse than that. You are going to back out, run into the person who has a garrote wire in their hands, and they are going to throttle the life out of you. If you're okay with that, roll with composure.
Okay, dokie. Oof. That's 4.
We have a couple of very, very intense little cliffhangers going on. I shall go ahead and narrate your bit, although I'm sure you're going to Crown of the Queen it.
Mhm.
But you do back out. I think maybe some of the the fish mongers, the people who work there, they all kind of form like a kind of loose phalanx when they see you walk in, and they have almost like an intimidating look. They don't maybe know why you're there, but you just seem like trouble, we'll say. And as you're backing out into the night air, you don't see a person who's right behind you. You bump into them. And you feel something tighten around your neck. And we just see Rosemary's legs kicking futilely as she gets pulled into the shadows. Are you going to mark the Crown of the Queen or the Crown of the Void?
I'm gonna mark a Crown of the Queen.
Very good. We'll have a different scene in a bit then. Let's do a couple more scenes and we'll take a break. Muriel, I owe you a clue, so I'm going to give it to you now. You said you were looking out in the place where the body was kind of hauled up to, but also digging around, which I think is interesting. And you will dig up quite a little treasure. A diamond earring.
Oh.
A woman's diamond earring. Just the one. Now, maybe you just got lucky here, or maybe it was something that Albert had on his person that floated to the beach. But in any case, that's your clue.
Okay, good to know. As
What do
long
you
as
do
I'm
then?
not further harassed by the harbor master, I'll hoist myself back up to the marina, and go looking around for Alice. Where did she go?
Well, let's talk about Alice. Alice, first of all, you saw these weirdos down on the pier. But second of all, you are now, someone's holding a gun on you, and they're speaking with a disguised voice, like a kind of robotic voice disguise thing. And they say, "You need to let this go. There's nothing here for you. Albert Krauss got drunk and fell overboard. And that's what you're going to tell Sheriff Dalrymple." What do you do? First of all, it might be the night move to keep your nerve, but I am curious how you react.
I think Alice is very much a person of level-headedness and doesn't react like with a hair trigger. And so Alice is just going to slowly raise her hands. And it's going to go, you know what? These highfalutin fancy rich types do get drunk often. And they just fall right off the edge of boats. Happens all the time.
I do want the night move to keep your nerve here, or to keep your composure. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
This person is going to notice that I am lying through my teeth.
Indeed. It's worse than that. They're going to put a bullet in your head. Go ahead and roll with composure.
So I have a +1 to my composure,
Okay,
and I rolled a 1 and a 5.
Oh,
So
okay.
a 7.
Okay, so you're just in.
Just in.
Just in.
I am rolling like ass today.
I'm going to give you a condition
Mhm.
being watched, but the figure otherwise says, "That's a very wise decision, Ms. Olinger. Trooper would be proud." And then he disappears into the shadows.
Man, even our dice don't want us to investigate the Kraus murder.
Indeed. Let's take a 5-minute break. Doll. Etienne, he takes care of this bass for this customer, and then he comes back over to you and he says, "Listen, I don't know what this is about. I don't know if Sheriff Dalrymple asked you to come. Okay, listen. The Krauses are good people. They've helped me out. We go back a long way. And so I'm happy to help out right now with, the body. But that family has, well, like all families, I suppose, that family has secrets, okay?"
Oh, like what?
Well,
Just between us, of course. You can tell me.
he kind of like says,
I'll split my next bingo cards with you, I promise.
"Oh, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. Let's just say that Allison and Albert had a non-traditional marriage, okay? As in,
Oh,
they, uh, you know, they were mostly just married for looks, for appearances. They had each of them their own little, you know, companion on the side. And I think maybe there was some tension about that. Don't
that's
ask me
where you
how I
would
know
say they're
this.
shacked up. Okay. I won't. Do you think it was murder?
I'm not saying that, but I think that
In our town?
I just think there was a little bit of tension between them. That's all I'm saying. I've said enough. I gotta ha ha ha. I'll be right there, ma'am. And ha ha.
See you at bingo. Bye, Etienne.
And he goes off. That's your clue, though. Albert and Allison both had lovers. Rosemary, you have bumped up your roll to be a 7 and 9. And so instead, I'm just going to give you the condition being watched, but you can otherwise make your way to the fish locker or the cold storage. And it's as you might expect. There are shelves of cod and haddock and other fish, and there is the distinct shape of a body wrapped in a tarp, stuck in there in between shelves of fish. Rosemary, what do you do?
I want to take a look underneath the tarp, just to see, like, if Albert really did have like a bump on the head.
You can certainly do that. Do a meddling move with reason.
That's better. 11.
Yeah, very good. We'll come back to this. So, Muriel, you found a diamond ring. Maybe there's a connection. Probably there's a connection. What do you do after you're done with your diamond ring, Muriel? Or diamond earring, rather?
Well, I was looking around for Alice, and I haven't seen her yet. So I feel
Maybe
like Muriel.
the two of you can meet up. Yeah. Alice, you
like,
are
yeah.
safe. You've promised, although it was a lie, to stop looking into this matter. Did I give you a condition yet, Alice?
Yeah, being watched.
Being watched. Yeah. I think that's pretty good. If you want to meet back up with Muriel, you certainly can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think after that, it's gonna be like a shit angle, anyways. Exposure's too much too, and just gonna like shimmy on down, and and walk over to Muriel and say, well, shit.
Oh,
It-
God. There you are. I was looking all over for you.
Oh, don't worry. I was just spotting some weirdos on the beach, and then I had a gun pointed to the back of my head. You know, normal Brindlewood Bay things.
That sounds more like Glasgow. But what?
What part of Glasgow are you from? Never mind.
Never mind. Let's focus on the fact that you just had a gun pointed at your head.
As you would say, it's some robot voice. Somebody said, hey, don't, be looking around. Albert Krause wasn't murdered. He got drunk and fell off a boat. And if I hear any caterwampus or caterwauling coming from your neck of the woods, then I'm going to plug you in the back of the head. And I said, oh, I'm done. And of course, I lied through my teeth to him. But, it's a...
You're more cool and collected than I am, that's for certain. If I were in that position, I would have spun around and given him a right belt in the gob.
It ain't the first time old Alice Solinger's had a 9 pointed to the back of her head. I'll tell you that much. That's a story for another day.
So you said that you're... No, like Muriel's kind of like looking around very conspiratorially, like paranoid, like, are we being watched? Like, you said you saw weirdos, like gestures vaguely at the tourists.
Yeah, you know that episode of that animated show with the family and everything like that, and there's that one rich guy that they think he might be an alien, and it's a whole X-Files kind of thing. But they're all wearing white robes, bald head, wearing weird freaky-deaky masks.
Okay, I caught the last part of that, so we'll go off of that.
A bunch of patients without a doctor.
All right then. Okay, well, this
Isaiah Langmore comes back up to the two of you, the harbor master, smelling like a man of the sea, because that's what he is. He says, Alice, Muriel, the two of you look like you're a little shaken, like maybe you've seen something dark and terrible, perhaps something dark and terrible in the waters off the bay.
You normally come up to folks and do this whole swarthy sea captain thing to them, Isaiah?
If I look shaken up, it's because I keep being offended by your stench, hounding every footstep of mine since coming down to the marina, Isaiah Langmore.
He kind of...
I was going to say that. But...
He hobbles off, but he says, be careful. Because you never know what's ready to crawl up from the depths. And he continues on.
Right, he's very bizarre. Okay, look, I say that we make a quick and hasty egress from this area and make our way towards the fish market to see how Rosemary and Doll are faring in the investigation of a body.
I think you can probably find Doll pretty easily at this point. The three of you could be back together.
Any luck?
Well, I met up with our dear friend Etienne. Do you know him? He works at the fish market.
Oh, don't I know him?
Oh, I
Yeah.
saw.
Oh,
Is he
he's
the-
quite handsome. Quite handsome.
Is he the one that does the offensively over dramatic French accent?
Yes, it's so fun.
I suppose.
Well, he says that, well, I can't really get into the details because he told me in confidence. But if you don't tell anybody else, I can tell you that Albert and Ellison Krause, they were, with other people.
Copulating.
But don't say it so loud.
Oh, sorry. Copulate.
Goodness. Yes, exactly.
Well, wait till you hear this one, Doll. Right? Alice just had a gun pointed at her head.
By a robot.
By a
Our
robot
Brindlewood Bay?
in our Brindlewood Bay.
Robots with guns?
Robots
Absolutely.
with guns in our Brindlewood Bay.
Oh, Lord, what's the world come to?
They told me things were odd here in America. The last decade's been pretty simplistic so far, but this is certainly long beyond what I first expected.
Just you wait until we take our annual cabin trip down south. I'll show you some things, all right, about weird America, okay?
Right.
Well, have seen Rosemary?
No, we
Well,
thought she was with you.
Let's check in with Rosemary. Rosemary, you're taking a look at the body. And the wound is basically as Sheriff Dalrymple described it. It does seem that he took rather severe blunt force trauma to the head. And the more interesting thing, though, as you're investigating the body, is he actually has something that Sheriff Dalrymple, for some reason, did not find, probably because he's very bad at his job. The body is wearing a sort of velvet coat, like a cigarette smoking jacket, right? And it's waterlogged, but it's definitely there. Inside the pocket on the interior lining of the coat, there is a manila envelope.
Gonna take that, pocket that, look around, and sneak on out.
Indeed. You can meet up with the others if you come around the long way to the front of the fish market.
Rosemary, you're not going to believe this. Just between us, the Krauses were cheating on each other. And there's robots with guns in Brindlewood Bay.
Are we sure about that?
Alice saw it.
I had the 9mm pointed to the back of my head, and I heard some Darth Vader sounding freaky deaky kind of voice say, Albert Krause didn't die by murder. He was drunk and fell off a boat.
It's shocking. What did you find?
I found an envelope. I have not taken a look at, but I will show you what's inside. And I open it.
Inside, the envelope is stuffed with what look to be receipts for very extravagant purchases. Artwork, furs, jewelry. It's unclear who the invoices are made out to or from, but because of the water damage, but it's clearly like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of purchases. That is the clue.
Gee, someone sure went on a spending spree. Imagine having this amount of money.
I'm smelling motive. I don't think I found motive, but I'm getting wafts of it, you know.
Right, stench of motive.
That might just be Isaiah left over.
He does have a tendency to linger.
Oh, that's what that smell was. I was wondering.
Hey, been accosted by the harbour master twice now.
He certainly doesn't. Well, Rosemary, you said you found this on the body.
Yes, in the jacket pockets. Apparently, Sheriff Dalrymple does not have eyes.
I'm starting to think the cops in this town are stunned.
It wouldn't surprise me if they weren't trained at all in this art of solving crimes.
I mean,
So
this town
really...
doesn't even have a morgue. I wouldn't be surprised if there was no actual police training for the county officers.
I think it really is coming down to us to solve this.
Oh,
But what if the murder robots come back?
I don't think it's a murder robot. I think it could be a very carefully constructed karaoke machine, because those have auto tuners to make you sound good when you sing them. So it can make someone sound like a robot. However, we're dealing with a criminal mastermind in this.
Between being accosted by the harbour master, Alice having a gun pointed at her head by a questionable robot, and all of these other affairs of strange, freaky-deaky stuff going on around the marina, ladies, I might suggest we make a quick haste to get on the water and over to that boat to look around, because it seems like most of our problems are here on the mainland.
That sounds like a really good idea. Does anyone have a boat?
I prefer to have my feet on the ground.
Couldn't we call Dalrymple? He could probably help us secure passage.
Does anyone have his number?
I do.
You do?
Yes, I have, and I have number of majority of the people I've talked to in Brindlewood Bay.
If you call him
Interesting.
up, and this is cell phone times, you can certainly
Yeah.
just call him up. He will say, well, first of all, he'll say, so you're telling me you have not yet found any evidence that might point to foul play, that you need to go to the yacht to find such evidence?
Yes, as far as we can tell, we've only confirmed what you have said so far.
All right. Well, go find Isaiah Langmore, the harbor master, and have him. He's got boats on standby for the county. He'd be happy to take you over there.
Sheriff Dalrymple, there may be a bit of a misstep with that, as he doesn't particularly like us.
Oh, that's just Isaiah. He doesn't like anybody. That's just the way he is. He's he's old Brindlewood Bay. You know how they are.
Well,
Rude.
he's been following us around for a good portion of the day, so it won't be hard to find him.
Right. All right. Well, you probably want to get a move on. It's getting pretty late. And even though these rich Boston types probably keep late hours, nevertheless, you just need to get over there. All right. Good luck.
Bye. Hang out. Sheriff Dalrymple continues to be unhelpful because he's recommended us to talk to Isaiah.
Well, if he lends us a boat, I'm sure I could remember how to drive one. It's been a while. I haven't had to use my sea legs since Dildo, but I'm sure I could remember. It's like riding a bike.
I could make a comment here. I'm just not gonna.
We're going to let you talk. We're going to go ahead and let you talk to Isaiah. You seem to have a bit more of a sunnier disposition than some of us.
Hey,
Well,
and it might not be anything related. I just bringing this up. I did find this in the sand, a diamond earring. Might not be related to this case in the slightest, but I found it. Yeah,
Oh,
it's very nice.
That's a real diamond. That's a real diamond.
Yeah, I put it between my teeth and everything. Just
Did you break your tooth? Are you okay?
Oh no! Pulls out like a bunch of like fake teeth on like one side of my mouth. Lost those in a pub fight back in '87.
I think as you're crossing the village to go find Isaiah and get a boat, you will actually come across that woman that you met earlier, Corinne Waitley. She's coming out of one of the buildings that are for lease there in the village, locking it up. And she sees you and says, "Oh, hello, ladies. Twice in one night. It's fated, I think."
Well, it's that Satanist lady.
Brindlewood Bay is not too big, so it's just coincidence.
Yes, perhaps. I don't really believe in coincidence, though. I believe that, well, when the universe comes calling, you pick up the phone. I think there's something in the cosmos that wants us to be together, at least for the opening of this new location of the ninth step.
Yes, but we have things to do and places to be, and I wouldn't want to waste your time any further tonight.
No, it's no trouble at all. Can any of you recommend perhaps a local bed and breakfast or other place to stay for the evening? I ended up being here much later tonight than I thought I was going to be.
Where are you from, Corinne?
Oh, here and there. I'm on the road mostly, truth be told. But I actually have family from this area, in fact.
Oh, who are you related to?
Oh,
Perhaps I know them.
an ancestor of mine. I'm sure you've never heard of him. Atticus Waitley. He had some, well, he was something of a, how'd you put it earlier? A new age spiritualist.
I would say that the name rings a bell.
It tugs very, very softly at the cockles of my memory, but I can't say I've ever heard of him.
Well, I certainly don't want to tug on anyone's cockles. I put the question to you again. Any bed and breakfast or anything like that you would recommend?
Well, I mean, it depends on what sort of style you're going for and what you're used to. You seem, well, a little overdressed for most of the places here.
Oh, I do have a particular fashion sense. Yes, that's true. I this is probably very, very, very forward. It might be a little late for me to find accommodations at this hour. Is it possible that one of you has a spare bedroom in your home?
I
Just
would
for the
be
night.
remiss. I would be remiss and not a very ladylike of an Appalachian woman of sorts if I did not open my home to you, Corinne.
That
I
is
also
so.
have an extra room should you need one.
Thank you. Oh, your kindness. Truly. Your kindness is like it's like a beam of warm white light penetrating the soul. I would love that. Thank you very much. I'll let you get about your business. If you have a key or something, I can just take myself over. It's no trouble.
Don't you worry. My key is right underneath a planter of a bunch of dead flowers. I don't have a green thumb in my body at all. So it's.
Muriel hurtly looks over at Alice. I gave you that planter, and I gave you those plants.
I tried my damnedest. I tell you what, Muriel, I really did try. I even got the fertilizer and everything with the plant feed, and this is all not necessary. But yeah, just go. The key's right in there. I got something in the fridge in the pantry.
Oh, thank you. You're such a lifesaver. I won't I wouldn't impose on you too much, but if you do have, an assortment of wheat grasses and juices or some such thing that I can make a smoothie with, that would be delightful. But I'll make do.
I think I've got something like that. But just don't. I hope you're okay with having chicken and dumplings and a lecture in the morning.
Oh, that sounds provincial and exciting.
It'll be an experience for both of us, I'm sure.
All right. Well, well, where are you all headed tonight? You all seem a little anxious about something. I hope I'm not being too forward.
Well, you didn't hear it from me, but there might be robots in Brindlewood Bay.
Yes. Well, I
Have you seen any?
no, only well, I think I saw it. One of the shops has a little animatronic thing that greets you when you walk in the door. The talking scarecrow at the pumpkin place. And never mind.
Oh, I hate that thing.
It's creepy.
I'll let you go get back to it. I have had such a long day. These new openings are they are very, very exhausting. Thank you so much.
Oh, on your way over to Alice's, there is our neighbor. She has a really quite wonderful lawn if you need some grass. She takes care of it really well.
I no, pardon my friend here. I do maintain a bit of an herbal garden. I'm not sure if I have the sorts of things that fit your fancy for the kind of lifestyle you lead, but I'd be at the very least if Alice is offering her home. Perhaps I could bring by some herbs to welcome you to the bay and recommend a few tinctures, concoctions.
I would love
good
that.
For, hey,
Is this perhaps something that we could sell at the wellness center? We love to source goods from local artisans.
Can we talk about it some other time? I'm not in the mood to discuss business.
Certainly.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Waitley.
Ms. Waitley.
Ms. Waitley. All right. Well,
and she will say her thanks again and walk off.
She eats and drinks grass. I don't understand.
I eat and drink grass, but it's not the kind of grass you find on a lawn.
What's the difference?
Oh, God. Have you not paid attention to any of the lectures? Never mind. We got a boat to find, ladies.
Mhm.
I think I trust a woman that can't enjoy a nice bowl of chicken and dumplings with a joint in the morning.
That does sound very enjoyable. Uh, Alice, have I actually made anything for you yet? And you've made a very delicious dumplings, but I haven't even given you a cod before. I mean, oh, have you ever had haggis?
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, we've got our weekend planned.
So Isaiah the harbor master
Mhm.
has a little shack on near one of the piers. And who's going to make the request here?
I think we volunteered Doll.
Yeah, doll.
It's dull.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Doll for sure. Mr. Langmore, Mr. Langmore. And she's kind of like breathing shallowly through her mouth, so she's not breathing in as much through her nose.
Hmm.
Mr. Langmore, are you around?
Of course I'm here. I'll always be here. Just
You're
like
very
the tide. Rolls in, rolls out. I'm always here. Day in, day out.
Yes, well, that's very nice. Since you're always here, you don't really need your boat, correct?
Do you need me to take you somewhere, Ms. Ryan?
Oh, I'm happy. I'm happy to drive the boat. You know, I am from a little outport town myself.
Right. Dildo.
Yes, wonderful place.
Where do you need to go?
Oh, just to the yacht.
Hmm.
Just a little trip, you know, to pay our respects. Probably.
It's only a half mile away. It's no trouble. Come on. I'll take you up there.
Well, thank you. Ladies?
And he comes out and he sees Muriel. He says, "Oh, you're a part of this little excursion too, I guess."
I am.
And he turns and he's got a little four-seater there. And he says, "After you, ladies."
Mhm.
And he will take you up.
Thank you.
Moonlight on the bay. Isaiah Langmore. There's a story about Isaiah. A story about, well, rumors will say, urban legends. Something that happened to Isaiah when he was young, when he was a young sailor. Something in the sea. Something that changed him forever. What have you heard?
I've heard during a particularly stormy night, he was out on the water and his vessel capsized. He was gone for weeks. Everyone just assumed he was drowned. But then he came back. And he came back strange.
When he came back, it was said that no matter how long he stayed out of the water, he would always appear that he was wet.
Indeed, as he gets into the boat, his boot prints are very wet. You almost slip.
I've heard that he makes cairns on the beach for those not yet dead.
I've heard, and this is a bit more of a spooky rumor, that underneath the harbor master's clothes, he is crusted with barnacles.
Very good. The boat pulls up to the little, like, kind of platform at the rear of the yacht so that you can dock there and climb up onto the yacht. I think you are met by the butler, whose name you know to be Andrew. No, not the butler, Captain Curly. You're met by Captain Curly. He's wearing dazzling officer's whites, and he has what I would describe as a megawatt smile, hair graying at the temples. Captain Carl Curly Willoughby. He says, welcome aboard, I guess. Can I help you, ladies? Are you here for the late night dinner party that Miss Krause is throwing? Or Mrs. Krause?
We'd heard something about that. I'm an old friend of the Krauses. Well, one of the Krauses, and I figured a couple of old biddies from Brindlewood Bay should welcome the family here. Terrible what we heard about Albert, so we wanted to give our condolences as well.
Well, come on up. I'll let Mrs. Krause know you're here. She may not be in any state to receive visitors, of course, but please here after he's kind of like will kind of help you as you climb up the little ladder to get onto the the ship, and he says, so have you all lived in Brindlewood Bay for a long time, or?
Well,
For a
long
while.
enough.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm actually I'm something of a Brindlewood Bay native. My family is one of the older families actually in town, and I actually am the one who convinced Mr. and Mrs. Krause to start coming out this way about 10 years ago, I guess now. Brindlewood Bay is just a backwater as far as they're concerned, but I've been kind of slowly teaching them about the local history and culture.
The real shame what happened to Mr. Krause.
I
You
know.
must be devastated.
It's terrible. I mean, terrible. He
Mhm.
was not just my boss. He was, I considered him a friend.
Well, I'll say
Hey.
my prayers for you.
Thank you.
Never easy losing a friend, Captain.
No, it's not. And he invites you all on board, and he just asks you to kind of wait there while he goes to announce your presence.
While that's happening, I would like to use my Encyclopedia Brown move.
Okay. About
So
what?
Encyclopedia Brown, I get to introduce a piece of real world trivia about something in a scene. Doll leans over to her fellow mavens. He's not wearing the right medals on his officer's whites. He's if he's a captain, he has to wear, and she describes the type of medal, and he's wearing lieutenant medals. It's not the right kind. I know. I used to work at the war back in Dildo.
Your clue is Captain Curly is wearing the wrong medals.
Oh my goodness. Muriel says to her fellow mavens, did you hear the captain, right? It sounds like they're having a party. Some sort of dinner gathering function 24 hours after the death of their beloved father and husband.
Jay, have
Another
you not ever heard of an Irish funeral?
Of course I've heard of an Irish funeral. It's nothing compared to a Scottish funeral, but I mean, I've heard of one.
Then this should be old news to you. This should be normal.
I suppose. It's a little more ostentatious than I'm used to. I mean, look at this place. It is... Whoa.
What a great segue. Paint the scene about the regal lady, the Krause family yacht. Everything is blindingly white, even in the moonlight, polished to a high shine. There's actually like a ship-wide speaker system that's playing music, and as you kind of come aboard, it's actually playing Tu vuoi fa l'americano, which is a fantastic song. As you step aboard the yacht and kind of look around, what do you see that shows the Krauses have more money than they know what to do with?
There's way too many lifeboats on this yacht. Like with the crew and all, and then the maximum amount of passengers, there is at least another 2 lifeboats or so. It's like ridiculous.
At the very top of the yacht, complete with like the blinking red lights and everything. There is a full helicopter pad on top of the yacht.
There is a map further in on a wooden wall, probably inside like a nice little gathering area for people, and there are pins along most of the coastline of every major continent except for like Antarctica.
Because it's getting a little bit dark, we can see in through the windows a little bit, and one of the people that we can see sort of mingling with the guests is John Malkovich. He's been hired to come entertain for the evening.
John Malkovich is presently on the boat.
Yes.
I am very sorry to hear about the death of your husband, Mrs. Krause.
I wish I could do a John Malkovich. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it. That's great. Yeah, that's great. So this is going to be a little party, it would seem. What is but you might have a moment here before somebody comes to collect you. What do you do?
Once again, I've entered a new location. What is about to happen?
Oh, what's about to happen? What is about to happen is you are going to be invited to stay for dinner.
Okay, why?
Because if the killer is on board, they are going to want to keep an eye on you and figure out what you're really here doing.
Oof.
I have a question. Is there like any kind of like, you know, recreational social gathering sporty thing happening, like billiards or something that rich people play in a social affair?
I'm into that.
Maybe in
Yeah.
cards or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I think it's a fun idea. I wouldn't say there's like a ton of people on board. There's apparently John Malkovich, and there's also Captain Curly. There's Andrew. There's all the Krause children and Allison Krause, and there are probably a couple of other just like unnamed crew members kind of bopping about. I like the idea of maybe.
Actually, you know, actually on that note, since you said there's still crew members, any crew quarters where like but you know, crew are like unwinding by like playing like cards or something.
I like that. Sure, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Like the kitchen staff or something.
Yeah, maybe there's like maybe you can actually see them like up like one of the upper levels where you pilot the boat. Maybe that's where they're kind of like hanging out playing cards.
Yeah. Muriel's gonna make her way towards that.
That sounds good. What about you, Alice?
Alice is taking stock of anybody that's missing jewelry or seems like they've been in a scuffle recently.
I think right now you'd have to probably start wading into talking to people. You're all still kind of isolated with just the four of you. Isaiah is just down at the boat. He said he's going to come back in like 2 hours. So
probably look for David then. Kind of start with this. That's my like touchstone.
Yeah. Finding David is easy enough. You hear from the front of the yacht, you hear David Krause because you know him. He's hollering at Andrew. He's saying, Andrew, are you going to bring me a lemon for my drink, or do I have to squeeze it out of my hat?
Alice is going to make over there and say, well, David, I don't know who Andrew is, but I'd say it's a sight for sore eyes to see you around these parts.
It's funny you should say that because he's currently sitting in the jacuzzi in the front of the boat, and when he sees you coming, he like sinks down into the water to where just his eyes are above the waterline. And then he comes back up and says, why do you look familiar?
Oh, don't you remember little old me? My name's Alice Olinger. Back a spell, we met at a true crime podcast convention. We had a nice dinner, talked about art and crime.
Oh, that's right. I remember you now. Huh. You are from around here, then, I guess?
I'm a transplant. I'm from further down south, but I live here now. Make my time. It's good to see you again, David. You seem relaxed.
What are you doing on my family's boat?
Well, came to offer condolences. Came to check in, see how everything's going around here.
Condolences about...
Your father, Albert, who recently passed away.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah, it's very, very sad. Just quite sad.
Devastating, truly.
Well, do you want to join me in the jacuzzi or what?
I would love to join you in the jacuzzi, David, but as you can tell, I didn't bring my bikini, but maybe next time.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it's 2023. I mean, we're free, liberated people, Alice.
David, you've only bought me dinner once. Let's not overreach.
I really, really love the elderly.
I know you do, darling.
Meanwhile, Doll, what are you doing?
I um I think what Doll is going to do, she's just going to kind of explore the boat, see if she can find any younger people. Because usually little kids, you can kind of get them talking. She's used to her grandkids like that, and they tend to know a lot of the dirt on people. That's one of the places she gets most of her gossip.
You actually find that young woman from the bookstore, the one wearing the Super Metroid t-shirt and reading Murders on the Rue Morgue. She is there on the boat, and I think she actually like stumbles into you, and
Oh,
she's sorry, I as
you know, one of my grandkids used to walk around with a book in her face just like that. Oh, and you're reading Poe.
uh
Rue Morgue is pretty good, but I gotta say, The Pit and the Pendulum is one of my favorites.
yeah, it's okay. I definitely did not see the whole thing with the orangutan coming. How are you supposed to figure that out just from reading it?
Well, sometimes you have to put the clues together and talk them out.
The killer was an orangutan that was never mentioned anywhere else in the text prior to the revelation of the orangutan. How are you supposed to figure that out? It doesn't make any sense. She closes the book and she sets it down. She says, uh, uh, who are you?
Oh, I'm Doll. It's so nice to meet you. You must be...
I'm Emily Krause.
Yes. Yes, I am so sorry to hear about your father.
Her phone starts buzzing and she's like, can you excuse me? I have to take care of
Oh,
this.
well, when I was growing up, I was always told that when your parent dies, you always get messages, from the beyond that over the next couple of days, the saying goodbyes. Maybe this phone call, this buzz, this meeting between us, maybe that buzz is the sign that you and I have to talk.
I actually think it's just a DM from Tinder, but
Oh, what?
okay,
DM?
swipe right, all that.
Oh. What are you swiping on?
Never mind. Okay, look, uh, and she kind of like takes you into like a small little like kind of sitting room.
Listen, my dear, I don't mean to pry. I'm just I've heard some rumors lately
It really
of,
feels like you mean to pry.
well, out of goodness, not out of being gossipy, of course. I care about my community and I'm worried that there might be robots around.
I don't know anything about robots, but uh, and she's goes back to finishing her text real quick. But okay, so are you like a well, who are you?
I'm Doll. You can usually find me at the bingo hall.
Okay, yeah. Rosemary, what are you doing right now?
I am going to be trying to find Allison Krauss.
That's no trouble.
Yeah.
She's in one side of the ship where they have like a table set up and string lights, and it's a whole like kind of fancy affair.
Hello, Allison. I'm sorry to hear about the death of your husband.
Alison Krauss is a very thin, graceful woman, very posh in her manner of dress. And when you walk up, she's sort of like giving directions to Andrew about setting up the table. And when you walk up and you say this, she turns and she says, "Yes, it's so sad, isn't it?
Definitely dreadful.
My poor Albert, dead. Can you believe it?"
Yes. Could I ask you to spare a moment for a private conversation?
You look familiar. Are you part of the philanthropic fundraising set?
Yes, I am actually. I think we've met once or twice, very, very briefly. And
Oh, did I invite you to our party tonight? That must be why you're here. I'm sorry.
Yes.
How rude of me.
I know grief can overwhelm us and just cause you to just forget things.
Oh, yes, my poor Albert. It's just like him to go and get himself killed when I'm on the precipice of charity fundraiser greatness. The man could be so self-involved.
Mhm.
You do know that I'm doing work for the 4th annual Warriors Ball, the charity fundraising event for military veterans with testicular cancer. It's a whole thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, it's this whole thing. I'm just so very impressed about how you are handling things. Like, I think in any other circumstance, I think someone would have just postponed the event or canceled it outright.
Would they? Let's have die rolls. Alice, you can go ahead and take a meddling move with David using presence to see if he gives up anything. Yeah, just with presence, no other modifiers.
I'm going to utilize. Would it be fair to utilize the fact that I was a producer on Small Town Big Crime, which is, as I might say, the 182nd rated
Yeah. I think you
podcast?
could. I think yeah. You could. It's the basis of your connection, so that kind of makes sense to me.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, can you roll an advantage?
Oh. Oh, all right. That is an 11.
Okay, very
6 and
good.
5.
All right, we'll come back to that. And Doll, you can do the same thing with Emily Krause.
Also presence?
I would say with presence, yeah.
Oh, that's a 12.
Oh, okay, good. Rosemary, you can do the same thing with Allison with presence.
That is a 7.
7. And Muriel, you're going up to talk to crew members playing cards. I think Captain Curly's up there right now too. And he says, how do you find her, our magnificent vessel here?
I've certainly seen large ships before. You know, my husband was a shipbuilder in Glasgow after the Second World War. It's certainly, let us just say that recreational shipbuilding has come a long way since that time, to say the least.
Yes. Well, I come from a family connected to shipping as well.
Do you know? What's, whereabouts from?
Well, from here, from Brindlewood Bay.
Oh, right, you mentioned that.
Well,
Willoughby, was it?
Yes, my
Willoughby.
an ancestor of mine is Hale Willoughby. He was a crew member on the Deep Reaver, which is, of
Oh.
course, the whaling expedition that is the foundation of the town.
I've seen the flyers for the whaling museum, but I've not gone yet. I haven't found the time.
Oh, you really
to...
must. It's fascinating.
I'll keep that in mind.
I will tell you, though, that the whaling museum, they don't have the full story. The sorts of, the family stories that really, really tell you the truth of a place.
Is that right? Do you happen to know some more sordid details that the official establishments of the town don't share?
Maybe.
I see that you're playing cards. What game, if I may ask?
And he says, spades.
Oh, spades. Well, it's been a long time since I've played spades. But mind if I interject into your game and play a hand or two, make it a little more interesting?
Please do. I guess you're not really the cocktail and appetizer set, or the cocktail and hors d'oeuvre set.
Let's just say that when it comes to cocktails, there's only one part I like, and that's the liquor part.
Fair enough. Okay, and so they kind of deal you in, or however spades works, I don't know. And yeah, the game is going on.
Yeah, I'm like playing the game, I think with the intention of like, if I can like wrench any interesting tidbits of information from what the crew have been experiencing lately or seen anything. And yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I like it. You can go ahead and take your move. Meddling move with maybe presence, but you might be able to make a case for something else, possibly. Depending on how you're kind of doing this.
Yeah, I think she is taking one after her husband here and is like very like quiet, and like she's doing that thing where she's playing cards so well and so focusedly, like people will naturally let things slip based on how the game is going in their favor or not, like just kind of like talk about gossip. And if she plays just well enough, then people might just talk as if she weren't there. So I'm going to angle for composure.
I'll take composure. Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm specifically also going to, when she says, let's make things interesting, she is going to, from her coat, put down the very expensive Scottish whiskey, the peaty Scottish whiskey from my cousin plays on the table as well, pull out the plug and just like offer drinks to any sailors and crew members who want some. So I'll use that item as well.
I love it. That's great. Go ahead and roll that.
All right, cool. So with that is I believe that's a 10.
Fantastic. I think I owe everyone a clue. And some of you, everyone just remember your role for next time. Who do I owe the void clue to? Doll. Doll, you were chatting with Emily Krause. And you're also probably in the lowest part of the ship compared to everybody else because you're down below deck. And you start to hear coming up from the belly of the ship, perhaps the engine room, this kind of like grinding mechanical sound. This and I think, if you'll permit me, you actually follow it for a bit. You even maybe go down a deck or two. And as you get closer to the source of the sound, you realize it's not a mechanical sound at all. It's a group of people. And we'll end the session with that note. Let's do stars. Actually, let's do end of session questions first. Really straightforward. Did the murder mavens solve a mystery? Not yet, but we'll go character by character. Rosemary, did you share your wisdom with a young person?
No.
Did you show someone that you've, quote, still got it?
No.
Okay. Doll, did you dote on someone?
I was trying to dote a little bit on Sheriff Dalrymple for.
I picked up on that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Did you share your wisdom with a young person?
I was trying to with Emily. I don't know if she really picked up on
I
it.
don't know if that quite came off. Yeah. Muriel, did you behave like a woman half your age?
I think I did. I think between the like digging around in the sand and also playing cards with a bunch of like sailors.
Oh, I'll
and
take
stuff.
that. Yeah, with the
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah.
Did you secretly undermine the authority of a local official?
Does Isaiah Langmore count?
Oh yeah, because just your basic attitude with him. Yeah, I'll take
Yeah.
that.
May I also argue
Oh.
the second Dalrymple left and you spun around and was
Oh,
like, yeah, we're
yeah.
not doing what he says. We're gonna go,
That's
we're
true
gonna go
too,
for
yeah.
it.
Oh
There's
yeah,
that
yeah,
part,
absolutely. Yeah, okay, great. Cool.
Alice, did you show someone that you've still got it?
Yeah, I was throwing some moves toward David Krause's way.
Oh,
I
that's
think.
true. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you also talked about Trooper a fair amount too. So
Yeah, I did bring up Trooper with
Yeah.
Corinne and some others. So yeah.
Sounds fantastic. Well, with all that said, let's go ahead and do our stars and wishes. Stars are things that you enjoyed about the session, either something one of your fellow players did or something I did, something about the mystery. And then wishes are things that you hope to see in the story next time. So, and also I think some of you need narrate Crowns of the Queen, but we can do that next time.
Mhm.
Who wants to go first?
I can go. This was a lot of fun. It's been really fun to play with you all, like this whole group, because some of us have never played together, and we've interacted online on Twitter or on Discord or whatever. So it's just really fun to have this face-to-face game. I'm really enjoying all of these characters and all the descriptions and all the little ideas that everybody has. Some things that I really liked. The conversation between Muriel and Isaiah, it went really stilt versus. It got real weird. I liked that a lot. That was a lot of fun. I liked the weird sexual tension between David and Alice. That was weird, and I was like, "All right, go for it." I really enjoyed the conversation that Rosemary and Allison were having, where it was just dripping with insincerity, and I just really, really enjoyed that.
Mhm.
I think one of the things I really enjoy the most about this game in particular is that you can really tell that all the different mavens have a very different experience of Brindlewood Bay itself, like as a town, just throughout their own experiences and their own hobbies and things like that. I think that really comes through, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I guess my wish is to see how John Malkovich is involved in all of this.
I love it. That's a terrific, like, what a way to use paint the scene, right? To really mix things up.
Can we make John Malkovich the killer?
Yes, and then that means he could possibly be the consultant for Alice, right? That would be
Oh my god.
I actually did put him in the suspects list, so
I love it.
My god.
I love it. Fantastic. I'll go next. I really enjoyed I was really trying to, like, so normally when I run this, I kind of run it I have run campaigns before, obviously, but I've never done it with like the books being complete and all the setting material being complete. And otherwise, I run it just in sort of like short series or one shots, right? And so it was really fun to sort of, I really wanted to like kind of sink into the setting of Brindlewood Bay and like the places and the people and kind of make it feel much more like connected. And so I felt like that came across really nicely, and I was really happy about that. I had a really great time watching these characters. I think already, even though it was just the first session, everyone's doing a really good job of like settling into their relationships with each other and kind of how they banter and talk. And so I really, really appreciated that. There was some like really, really funny stuff with every character today. But I got a kick out of, like, I really love Alice always referring to Trooper. Trooper is just such a like Southern name, that's just something like a Southerner names their kid, right? And so I just thought that was really amusing. I loved all the dildo Newfoundland references. That was really great. Muriel's hilarious. It was really fun to like have that little back and forth between Muriel and Isaiah. And I actually I really liked that Rosemary took the initiative of like going into the rear of the fish market, because I think that's like the most interesting, dangerous thing to do. And so it was fun that that you did that, Chaotic. So yeah, I just enjoyed it a lot. It was really good fun. And Wishes, yeah, I'm really curious to see who the killer is. I'll be curious to see what you come up with. So yeah.
Yeah, my stars. The scene with Alice with the gun to the back of her head was very, very tense and very cool, especially with the way that, like, I've in my time experiences like playing and running Brindlewood Bay, I've only ever had like, oh, the killer is in the room with you and they're doing something, and maybe you can escape or maybe put on a crown. But the fact that the situation was like this killer was like warning you to not press deeper and then let Alice get away, like walk away, was really cool. So that scene was like really it was both creepy but also like really just kind of like exciting. Immediately this is like a little star. I love that you've ascribed the face claim of Tilda Swinton and Kate Blanchett to Corinne Waitley. That is so evocative, and I could not I love that. And then yeah, to echo what Jason just said as well, the dildo Newfoundland stuff is never going to not be funny, because Amanda, you are exceptionally good at waiting for when all of us have forgotten about it to then just smack us again. Yeah, it's great. Wishes, I'm excited to see. I'm also excited to see who the killer is, but I think I'm genuinely super stoked to whenever in the game Wes uses the Clarice Starling move and seeing that come into play. I'm also excited to hear everybody's crown prompts next time.
I gotta give a star for everyone's relationships with each other, as well as like the characters that they've picked out and like built. Like there's a very good like parallels between characters, as well as like where they sort of part from. Like I see like how Muriel and Rosemary are very rambunctious in very different ways, where Muriel is more physical. Rosemary is just like, I'm just gonna slink back here and get into all sorts of trouble. Don't mind me. I know what's going on. Doll and Alice are very, very upbeat and lighthearted characters, and the whole it's a robot thing. I'm just like, oh my god, it's gotten out of hand. I also while this may be off mic, I really enjoyed like the choosing of like which midwives we're dealing with, as well as the child of Persephone, because I've read through the book, at least skimmed through it for the most part. I know what we're dealing with, and oh, it's so thematic for what our mavens are. Like it's a very globe-trotting like maven group. Like we're like half of the mavens are from different countries. Like you've got Alice, who's very found down south. We've got Rosemary, who's undisclosed United States. We don't know, but it's not the South. So it's just very fascinating.
I, for one, I am so excited to be playing with all of you. It is great. Alex, of course, we play the between with each other, and I like playing with you because I like you in the player seat. You're very catch-all with it. Amanda, we've had interactions on Twitter and Twitch and everything like that, and like on Discord, and you as well, Chaotic. And so I'm glad to be able to play with you. Jason, throwing out stars as well. I've run through Dad Overboard with Alex in the player seat before, with you running it before. And it's, of course, it's your game. I think of the Darkened Threshold, you say it's I'm a genius. I have all this but you understand it. You get it, you understand it, but you're also like, you could tell that you've run it enough, but you also run it enough to know that, to make it distinct to each group that you're running it for, and it shows. And it's very earnest, and I really appreciate
I have never
it.
called myself a genius, to be clear.
No, you have. You have. No, hold on. Sidebar. Hold on. There is.
I don't think I have.
Audio.
Have
No, I can quote you. I can quote you. I know
Wait,
the exact. It's episode 2, I think. I there's a point I'm talking about how, like, creatively intelligent, I do say, like, what a genius you are, and then you say, can I just say how great it is to make a show about talking about how much of a genius I am?
Yeah, but I was saying it like it's not something. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway,
I don't think I'm a genius. I do think I'm very good at designing games, though. So
yes, everyone go
and
listen
running
to
them.
The Darkened Threshold.
Darkened Threshold. Yes, absolutely. It's great. I'm caught up and it's fantastic. Can't wait for the next episode. But everybody plays their characters very distinctly, and we have distinct mavens that feel very much in their character. And it's just the first session, which is excellent. Chaotic, I love how you're playing Rosemary, which is like daring, but like a quiet daringness, like just like an assuredness. And also seems to be like we all have the Always Sunny in Philadelphia group breakdown here with these mavens. We've got the brains, the bronze, the looks, and the wild card. And I can't wait to see how we switch those around too as we bring them all around. And then Amanda the dildo joke. You also, it's not just saying the word dildo at opportune times. It's the euphemisms that you tie with it that are very cleverly placed. It's like riding a bike, which took me out, which is fantastic. My wish is I love one of my things that I love about the Card from Brindlewood games is it's so easy, and it's my favorite thing about TTRPGs is because I hate the don't split the party thing. I love splitting the party because I love having those side scenes and like of seeing different characters interact with each other. I think it's very cool, and I can't wait for more. I can't wait to see how our characters interact with each other, like in trios and duos and solos and everything. It's gonna be great.
I do want to actually piggyback really quickly on something that Wes just said that made me think of something else, was that it's so cool playing Brindlewood Bay with all the setting materials completed and now doing a whole campaign that is like, yep, this is the setting, and we're going to incorporate so many elements, like talking about the town, introducing Isaiah Langmore, all these other details are so cool of fleshing out the Brindlewood Bay as well. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is so cool. I've never played this way before, so I'm very excited.
It's
to be
great
at the forefront of it.
Yeah, it's super great because like before the publications of the final books, there was no Isaiah Langmore or Corinne Waitley, right? Like, but now they're there, and I have like characters I can draw on, to do things with. So it's fun. Any other stars or wishes?
I also have to give a star to this mystery because it also like has quite a few euphemisms. You've got Allison with her warrior's ball.
Right, yeah.
So,
which I didn't pick up on until like the fourth time I played Dad
joke.
Overboard.
Yeah. It's like the dumbest
so
joke
good.
ever.
So good, but I just didn't clue in.
Yeah. I'll with how like Amanda was talking about dildo and like the intercut with scenes of Isaiah just being referred to as the man of the sea. I kept on just giggling to myself because I just kept on thinking the sea man.
Yeah, very good. All right, then. If there are no other stars and wishes, I want to tell you that somewhere in Brindlewood Bay, there is a room that is very white. It is brightly lit. White light. And there's a group of people wearing very pristine white robes and hoods and masks that look like the faces of Greek statuary, placid, featureless. And they're standing in a circle around a young woman sitting in a chair. This young woman is crying, but resolute. One of these hooded people walks up and uses a wet cloth to wipe off this young woman's lipstick and smear it and wipe it off. And then another comes and removes her earrings. And they take off any other jewelry she's wearing on her hands. And then you hear the buzz of clippers as they shave off her eyebrows and shave her hair. They've removed as many traces of her individuality as they can. And then they drape her in one of these white cowls, and they tighten their circle around her and hold their arms over her until their arms join together, almost like a twisted mass. And they let out a cry, an exultation. And that concludes our scene. I will see you all next week. Bye.